Today I'm going to talk about finance. It is near and dear to my heart with how much this kind of thing can really throw me off. And yes, the title of this video was about how we pay for things in cash. And that means if we can't afford it, if we haven't saved money for it, if there's nothing spare available that we can spend on it, we simply don't get it. The reality is that it's simple in theory, but it's hard to do in practice because as people, we actually want things. Me in particular, when I see something, I would like it. We definitely have had times in our married life where we haven't been able to afford everything that we wanted. Maybe we were getting started in careers or things like that, and so we were having to really knuckle down and get by on very little. So that isn't new to me, but the fact remains that over the years we have definitely developed a sense of if we want it, we can pay for it. That's just the way things are. Money is readily available to us, but that's not always true. Because if I've got cash for something and I pay for it, it's not something that I can't afford. There's no concern there, or there could be if I put that money aside for something like medical bills or saving for something that's really important that's definitely coming up and I go and splurge on a new pair of winter boots. Can you tell that that's on my mind? But when you're paying for things in cash, or when you're paying for things with money you have on hand available to do so, there's no doubt whether you can afford it or not. But when you're purchasing things on credit to pay later, I'm assuming a lot about myself. I assume that each morning I'm going to get up at 5 AM and read my Bible. But I don't always do that because I don't feel like it. Some mornings it's cold, or some mornings I'm really tired. And the fact remains it's exactly the same with our finances. We often do what we feel like. So we have always had some form of credit. It's quite amazing to me how much they can give you and then offer you more, even though you're actually not quite sure that you should be spending this money on this, but they willingly give you more credit. So it's been quite easy for us to get ourselves into debt over the years. We've been married nearly 22 years, but for the majority of those years we were in consumer debt, and I would say it kind of averaged between $10,000 and $15,000. And that's quite alarming to me, even saying it out loud to you guys, because it's kind of putting it out there. We were part of that equation. We were the people that were consuming things that we couldn't afford. And we couldn't afford them because we didn't pay for them. We had to borrow money to pay for them. So with minimalism, my journey started with reducing the things that we own some 5-6 years ago, end of 2015. And at that stage I started putting together an emergency fund. It was $1,000 that you had put aside in a savings account that you didn't have access to regularly, that you could get access to in an emergency, and it was for just that. The car breaks down, you need to buy some flights to get to family. It was there for emergencies, like things that we couldn't not do and would really mess us up if we had to try and afford it. So I have always had that for the last 5 or 6 years, $1,000, always an emergency. And that was taught to me by a lady named Mary Hunt. Since then I've found guys like Dave Ramsey, and it has been a real good backstop for us. But we still carried this debt. We were trying to pay off our credit cards, but we weren't really working on paying them off. We were just kind of, if we could get there, we would. So what happened for us? In 2019, we were going on a family holiday and we'd saved up as much cash as we could, and we were thinking we really need to get rid of these credit card debts. We got away on our holiday, and halfway through the holiday we ended up having to use the credit card because we ran out of funds, and it just scared the living daylights out of me because I could just see us climbing back up into debt again, back up into that $15,000 range. Knowing what I know about debt and knowing what I know about paying for cash for things, and just realizing we're just getting way in over our heads and we need to change things. And so we went on a mission. That September would have been, by the time we got back it was October. We got everything squared away and we decided to go on a mission. Everything happens just before Christmas. And so we just knocked down Christmas presents, we knocked down travel, we stopped doing things on the house, we stopped spending things unnecessarily. We just thought we've got to get rid of it. And we put every spare dollar to it. We didn't do a whole lot that year, the following year, and within 15 months we'd paid off the $15,000. And I have kept records to see what we paid off and which month we paid it off. And there were months that we didn't pay off anything because there were expenses that we had to pay for that we didn't have money to go towards the credit card debt, and there were months we had extra and we were able to just throw it all on the credit card. I actually remember something happened in the last final few thousand we had to go, and something happened and we got an influx of cash and we were able to just completely pay it off. and normally we would spend that on something, you know, to treat ourselves, and in actual fact we just threw it on the debt, and that felt so much better. That gave us a long-term win that any kind of gift to ourselves would have given. So it's 15 months and we paid off that $15,000, and since then we just pay for things in cash. If you've ever heard of Dave Ramsey and the baby steps, he has steps that you go through in order to get back on track financially and to do things well. Now, Dave Ramsey researched a whole bunch of guys that were financially savvy in order to come up with his baby steps. So it's not new information. Dave Ramsey would even say the way he does finance is how God and Grandma would teach you. I have found it to be incredibly solid. I've only done the first 2 and now we're on the 3rd step. And that's really exciting for me. Now, I am sitting in an empty bedroom. We are only paying for things in this room as we can afford them. So currently we only have a few $100s each paid to put towards this. Last week, James put down underlaying the carpet. The week before that, we were using the money towards paint and sandpaper and tools that we needed to be able to get the paint done. Making these renovations, doing these improvements will greatly increase the value of our property. We know that. We could easily put it in a mortgage, but it just felt like we were going to be going backwards again. We want our mortgage to be coming down, or at least slowly reducing down, not increasing. And to be honest, we were pretty close to getting some money on the mortgage to be able to afford all the renovations we're about to do, or the stage of our renovations, which is just painting through the house and upgrading a few of the fittings and things. We went through to Tauranga to see my brother. We went on a 5 or 6 hour trip together. The kids didn't come with us, and we listened to the audiobook by Dave Ramsey of Total Money Makeover. And when we were listening to the book, we both were just looking at each other thinking, we can't do this. But it's really, really hard to not do it this way, because this is what we've always done. But we're sitting there thinking it would just be so much easier to get finance. But Dave's telling us not to. And we want to do it right. We're in our 40s. We've got a grandchild on the way. We've got teenagers. We can't afford to be messing things up and setting ourselves back another 5 years. So if the renovations are going to happen a little slower than we would like, so be it. We're plodding away through this room. We have got curtains to purchase, a wardrobe insert to install, new light fittings. It has been a long, hard journey getting off that credit card roller coaster that we were on. It wasn't as terrible as some, but it was pretty bad when we look back at it now. And it's not something I want my children to accept as normal. I want my kids to know that credit card is bad. I always taught my oldest that credit card was bad. Don't go there. But in saying that, I was telling him because I was in a lot of pain over it. And I really don't want to teach the next 2 coming through that this is the way you could do things if you feel uncomfortable at some point. If you really feel like you need to go out and get a new wardrobe, sure, just put it on credit, it'll be fine. Because it's not fine. When you don't have as good an income as you normally would, when you aren't able to make payments because other bills come up, when you move, change jobs, go without an income altogether for some time, debt can make your life super miserable. And owing people money is a constant bug on your shoulder. So making it gone has been a game changer for us, and we don't want it back. So that is my explanation for why we pay for things in cash. I really, really, really hope that this has inspired you. I hope that this has encouraged you that it's okay to pay for things in cash. It's okay to do things slowly. If you are encouraged to maybe pay off some of your credit card debt, if you're encouraged to get some savings behind you and start paying for things in cash, I encourage you to read Dave Ramsey's stuff. Look for the book Total Money Makeover. I'll put a link down below. So I'm really hoping that this has helped in some way, and I just wanted to share my story in the hope that it would encourage you. But until next time, bye for now.